The phone was ringing. Two people waited by the front desk, where a harried teenager shouldered a phone and jotted on a yellow post-it. He took his place in line, his mind going back to that one jarring sentence in the letter. Walt was a family friend. He'd tell him how to straighten this out. Then Noah would just put this behind him. But somehow, the letter had stirred up all kinds of things he thought he'd already put behind him. Memories, the best of his life, the worst of his life, swirled together in a confounding cocktail of joy and pain. A vice tightened around his heart, squeezing until his breath stuttered. "Can I help you?" The teenaged girl peered at him through a pair of thick-framed glasses. He eased forward. "Hi, I'm here to see Walt." The phone pealed. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's a pressing matter. He's a friend of the family." "Name?" "Noah Mitchell." "Have a seat, please." She answered the phone while he joined the others in the waiting room. The letter crinkled in his pocket as he settled against the curved plastic chair. He took out his phone and made a list of items he needed from the Piggly Wiggly. He could hit Buddy's Hardware while he was in town, too. He needed mud and sanding paper for the attic. Might as well get the paint, too. Save him a trip back to town. Maybe he'd hunt down his brother and grab a cup of coffee if he had time. "Noah, you can go on back." He followed the short hall to the first open door on the left and tapped on the frame. Walt stood up behind a cluttered desk and extended his hand. "Noah, come on in." Noah shook his hand. "Good to see you, sir." Walt was winning the weight war that often accompanied a desk job, but he was losing the battle with his hairline. "Thanks for seeing me on such short notice. I'm sure you're swamped with the tax season." Walt pulled off his bifocals. "I have some help this year. Young Sprigg, fresh out of college. He's going to be the death of me." Noah's lips tugged northward. "You look more like your daddy every time I see you," Walt said. "Good-looking son of a gun. Have a seat, why don't you? How are your folks?" "Enjoying retirement. They're in Las Vegas this week. Last week they were hiking the Sierra Nevadas. Next week? Who knows?" "Good for them. They've been looking forward to this a long time." "They have. How's your family?" "Fine and dandy. Here's my new grandbaby." He handed Noah a framed photo of a newborn, swaddled and pink-skinned. "Lori Ann, after my wife." "Congratulations. She's a beauty." "That she is." Walt settled the photo back in place. "Well, what can I do for you, Noah? Needing some help with your taxes this year?" "Not exactly." He pulled the letter from his pocket and handed it over the desk. "Got this in the mail today. Was hoping you could advise me on how to go forward." Walt settled his readers in place. A frown creased his brow as he read. It seemed like an hour passed before the older man's eyes finally lifted, meeting Noah's gaze over the straight rim of his glasses. "When was your divorce finalized, Noah?" Divorce. Would he ever get used to the word? "Before January of the tax year in question." "You were right to file single then, of course." His gaze fell to the letter. "How can I fix this?" "Well, if it's in error, you just send them a copy of your final divorce decree. In a month or two, you'll receive a letter stating that the matter's been resolved." "What do you mean, if it's in error?" Walt handed back the letter. "Well, you might just check with your attorney and be sure things got tied up nice and proper." Noah blinked. "Of course they did." "Well, sure. You just send a copy of that final decree then, and that'll be the end of it." The end of it. The divorce had been uncontested, as simple as the act could be, he supposed. But there was nothing simple when it came to separating one flesh. If there was anything he'd learned in all this, that was it. The phone pealed again in the front office, shaking Noah from his stupor. "All right, then. Much obliged, sir. I won't take any more of your time." He stood, his legs quaking beneath him. "Good luck, Noah. You say hello to your folks the next time you hear from them." "Will do." Noah's heart raced as he strode down the hall, his mind spinning. The final decree. He had those papers. He'd signed them, and Josephine had sent him a copy. He remembered that much, even if those grief-laden months were as foggy as the valley on a warm spring morning. Facing Josephine across that old scarred table, feeling like strangers despite their nearly 2-year marriage, her porcelain skin pale against her red lipstick. Working in a daze, forgetting to eat, lying in his empty bed night after night, a concrete block on his chest. The divorce decree. He couldn't say where it was.